We begin our broadcast tonight in East Africa, where 3 United States Department of Defense members were killed in Kenya by the Somalia-based Al-Shabab terrorist group during a pre-dawn attack on a key military base used by U.S. counter-terrorism forces. A cloud of black smoke could be seen rising from the Manda Bay airfield in the coastal town of Lamu along the Kenya-Somalia border. The attack also destroyed several U.S. aircraft and vehicles before it was repelled, according to military officials. It was the Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Shabab attack against U.S. forces in Kenya. A Kenyan military spokesman says that 5 attackers were killed. U.S. military command in Africa, known as AFRICOM, confirmed some of the smoke could have originated from the destruction of equipment at the base. Al-Shabab said in a statement that it had taken control of part of the base and it had inflicted casualties in the attack. And we'll be with our Pentagon reporter shortly, but first, on the heels of the U.S. drone attack that killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei presided over prayers Monday as hundreds of thousands of people assembled in Tehran to mourn the country's top general. Iran is vowing retaliation against America for the death of Soleimani. Iran also says it will no longer limit itself to any restrictions on nuclear centrifuges or the enrichment of the uranium as long as there are U.S. sanctions on the country. VOA's Arashar Basadi has more.
Sunday in Iran, tens of thousands of mourners joined a funeral procession escorting the casket of General Qasem Soleimani. A U.S. drone strike Friday on Baghdad International Airport killed Soleimani and those with him. The strike came days after members and supporters of an Iraqi militia stormed the U.S. embassy in Baghdad. Iraq's parliament reacted Sunday by approving a resolution asking their government to oust American troops. President Trump at an event Friday in Miami said killing Soleimani stopped an imminent threat.
He was plotting attacks against Americans, but now we've ensured that his atrocities have been stopped for good. They are stopped for good. I don't know if you know what was happening, but he was planning a very major attack, and we got him.
Skeptics call the evidence for a Soleimani-led major attack razor-thin and say it puts Americans at risk. Sunday, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said the strike came at just the right time.
The senior leaders who had access to all of the intelligence, there was no skepticism. The intelligence assessment made clear that no action, allowing Soleimani to continue his plotting and his planning, his terror campaign, created more risk than taking the action that we took last week.
Trump says he does not want war with Iran, but Saturday on Twitter he threatened strikes against Iranian cultural sites if Iran strikes back, a war crimes violation of the Geneva Convention. Pompeo said the U.S. will behave lawfully. Members of Iran's parliament Sunday gathered to chant in Farsi, "Death to America." Tensions have always been high between the Trump administration and Iran. Trump unilaterally withdrew the United States from the multinational nuclear deal with the Islamic Republic to limit its enrichment capabilities. Iran said Sunday that it would no longer abide by any rules of that agreement. Arashar Basadi, VOA News, Washington.
Now back to the story we talked to you about, the Al-Shabab attack in Kenya. And for more on this attack, VOA Pentagon Correspondent Carla Babb is standing by live at the U.S. military headquarters in Arlington, Virginia. Hello, Carla. What are you hearing from Pentagon officials?
Hello, Esther.
Attack?
It's been very busy here.
So what are you hearing from Pentagon officials on this
concerning
attack?
the Al-Shabab attack? That's right. I hear you loud and clear. And concerning the attack that happened in Kenya, I am hearing from defense officials that about 20 members of Al-Shabaab attacked the perimeter. They were able to use RPGs and indirect fire to breach the security gate of the base. They were able to penetrate onto the airfield, but they went no further than that. I am hearing that there were, as you reported, 3 deaths, 3 American deaths, 1 service member and 2 contractors guards were killed. 2 additional Americans were wounded. They are in stable condition and they have been evacuated at this point. No Kenyans were injured in the attack. That is what I am hearing from my sources. But let's remember, Al-Shabaab had put out a statement saying that there were hundreds of deaths. They later changed their statement saying that there were 17 deaths. The facts on the ground is that there were 3 deaths, and we are still trying to figure out just how 20 members of Al-Shabaab were able to penetrate a base.
And that raises the question, Carla, is the base secure?
Well, I am hearing from my defense officials on the ground and around with U.S. Africa Command that there has been a task force from Djibouti that has been deployed to Kenya to help further secure the base. There are about 350 U.S. service members in Kenya. This will add to that number, of course, and they are hoping that with that additional support, they will be able to keep the base secure. I am being told it is secure at this point, but the situation was fluid for quite some time. In fact, I heard that Al-Shabaab was able to penetrate for more than an hour before they were eventually repelled.
So do officials think that Al-Shabaab is becoming more emboldened?
Well, that's a great question, Esther, because if you think about it, this is not just the only attack that Al-Shabaab has done recently. In fact, we were hearing that on the same day yesterday that the American-supported base was attacked. There was a base that holds British forces in Kenya that was also that Al-Shabaab also tried to attack. We have heard that 3 suspected terrorists were arrested before they were able to penetrate that base. But this all comes on the heels of a massive attack in Mogadishu that Africa 54 has reported on. About 80 people were killed in that attack, and defense officials are telling me that they suspect Al-Shabaab tried to carry out these attacks to change the narrative and cause a distraction. He said that what they did was terrible. It was a humanitarian disaster. They killed lots of civilians. They received harsh feedback from that, and this was their way to say that they're still relevant and they're trying to shift the narrative.
Carla, thank you so much.